You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials because the revolution will not be televised.
And welcome to South Florida's #1 heritage gospel station, AM 1490 WMBM. We always are grateful to be on these airwaves, and you are tuned in. Yes, it is that time on Monday. Circle of Brotherhood is on the air with Brotherhood Talk Worldwide. And I'm telling you, we have a very, very important show. Any of you who are listening right now, I'm going to give you an opportunity to get people who love children. I don't want to hear anybody else today tuning in. No, I only want those. If you know somebody who loves children, they need to be tuned in right now. And also, listen, if you know any educators who are responsible for our children, any people in the social services network who are responsible for our children, you want them to tune in to a very special program we're having here on Brotherhood Talk Worldwide. We're always honored to be here on 1490 WMBM. We let you know as well, not only can you tune in by the radio, you can also go to www.wmbm.com in that way as well. And you can also go, yes, to Instagram, WMBM Radio. You can also on Facebook as well find WMBM Gospel AM Radio. Always a salute to our beloved brother, Bishop Victor T. Curry, President and General Manager, as we continue to celebrate this great anniversary of this station. So, look, my name is Brother Lyle Muhammad. I will be your host today, but I am not alone. And look, you're going to be mad if you're not getting those people that I told you to go get, because you're going to be scrambling through them when we get ready to go into this conversation that we're going to have about our children, about psychiatric drugs, and about schools. Is that a proper mix? And where do we find ourselves today looking at the state of our children? So with all of that being said, dear family, I am so honored to have in studio with us Barbie Rivera. And I'm going to introduce her. First, I'm going to read to you something that is on the back of her book entitled Enough is Enough. And then I'm going to do a quick musical interlude to kind of set this tone right, family, because we need to be very, very clear when we're talking about our children and when we're talking about drugs, whether they be legal, prescribed, or illegal, and where we stand. I had the honor of meeting Barbie just a few weeks ago, but talk about a kindred soul that I met who is, wow, she's so much. Let me introduce her to you this way. And then I want to give you an opportunity again to get some educators. Now, in 1991, just 10 days into first grade, a teacher told Barbie that her 6-year-old son was mentally handicapped and would need medication to learn. She happened to disagree with that. Now, I'll go back to see, again, what, 10 days into first grade. So Enough is Enough is a book that delivers brutally honest insight into the American school system and told by a mother who saved her son from being labeled and a potential lifelong prescription for mind-altering medication. And so now as we get ready to make this conversation very, very real, family, now I want you to really go get those people who you know have children that are using drugs, but they're being prescribed drugs because of diagnoses in schools, and a lot of parents don't have proper information about them. I want you to go get them right now. And as you're thinking about our young people, as you're thinking about how valuable and how on point we need to be when it comes to understanding how we can protect our children from psychiatric drugs and how we can protect our children from being improperly diagnosed. And so what I'd like to do before I bring her to these airwaves, I want you to just listen to this by one of our young people about drug abuse.
I seen dead people in front of my eyes, searching for a high that couldn't provide. A lifetime of a lifetime, now who am I to tell you what to do and not do? Well, I'm just a guy. I'm only 16, but I seen things that no one should see. Body laid out pale, dead from an OD. Willing to die for something that's gonna be temporary. Searching for a high that's gonna be unnecessary. As soon as it's over and you forget what happened, 10 minutes of being sober and then you right back at it. You say you're not an addict, they say I should stick to rapping, but I seen too many people die and I finally had it. I'm tired of seeing people I love getting caught up on drugs, not knowing when to say enough is enough. I'm tired of all the pain, I'm tired of all the sorrow. I'm tired of not knowing if I'll see people tomorrow or they'll be gone because they want to live reckless, thinking that the drugs are gonna make them be stressless. But when the high is over, life becomes real again. The feelings that they had before, they're gonna start to feel again. So they popping on them pills again in an attempt to never feel again. They thinking that it's healing them, but in reality it's killing them. I don't wanna throw my life away, I don't wanna see you die today, I don't wanna throw it all away. Yeah.
Yes, family. We got some serious issues to talk about, and I'm so honored to have you here with us, Barbie Rivera. First of all, welcome to Circle of Brotherhood Talk Worldwide, into the airwaves of WMBM. We welcome you to the studios.
Thank you for inviting me.
Excellent. And move that mic a little bit closer to us as well, too. So, look, let's just first talk about your story. So you it goes back to 1991.
Mm-hmm.
And so your son, you take your son to school.
Mm-hmm.
10 days into the process, they diagnose him as mentally handicapped. Talk about that experience and take it from there.
Okay, so the diagnosis, I never let it get to that point. The teacher told me on that second Friday of school that my son was mentally handicapped. That was what she saw. For her professional viewpoint was he was mentally handicapped. It would most likely benefit from psychotropic medication. And I'm like, that's not even an option. Especially, and I'm not a mom that if you told me my son said a bad word, I'm like, oh, he would never.
Right.
I'm not that mom.
Right.
But my son was bilingual.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly he learned another language. I am not.
Mm-hmm.
He was well behaved. He was as independent as a 6-year-old could be. If I told him to clean up his toys, he would clean up his toys. Like he was, to me, he was exceptionally well behaved. He liked to color. He liked to put a blanket over the dining room table, make a fort, all of the things that 6-year-olds do. And yet when he went to school, they find fault with everything. And I'm like, what is the purpose here?
Now, as you're telling this story, parents, if this is sounding familiar, the reason why we have Barbie here with us is because we know that while she was brave enough to step out and defend her child, that many of us have fallen into traps where our children have fallen victim to being put and diagnosed on drugs unnecessarily. So continue about your journey and how you expanded from there.
Okay, well, I wish I could tell you that I immediately took him out of school. I didn't. I was very pregnant with number 4.
Mm-hmm.
So that was 4 under the age of 6, so that's kind of crazy. I was 27.
Somebody said, get out of my life right now. I know y'all listening right now. You be like, is she talking about me?
Right. Anyway, so I left him in school. And by Christmas, I had a different boy. He was like depressed. He was not outgoing. He was very solemn. And I thought I was being a good mom by, I'll do the homework with him. He had 3 hours of homework. And but then my little ones needed my attention. And I'm like, what is happening? My first grade, I think I was in first grade in 1969 or 1970. We didn't get a homework. We weren't tested. We weren't prodded. None of that. It was a very lovely experience we had breaks throughout the day, recess before lunch, recess after lunch, arts and crafts. You were at the table to work, but then you were out exploring, and then you would come back, and then you were, it was this balance. And my son, you would have thought he was studying for a law degree with the amount of pressure he had on him when he was 6. Mm-hmm. So at the end of the year, the tipping point, again, I was slow to see it. Mm-hmm. And it's great that I didn't allow him to get medicated, and I took a stand against his potential diagnosis. I never let it get that far.
Now, I just want to go back and be clear again. Now, 10 days into the relationship, medication was prescribed, or it was suggested. It was suggested.
Yeah, so they don't let him have a chance to get it. That would be like, I don't know, if I hire somebody and on the second week I tell them, oh, well, you're not really up to snuff and I have to drug you. I'm like, 10 days into any job isn't enough to do anything.
Right, and this was the teacher. Now, this
was the teacher.
This wasn't a medical professional at the school.
This was a teacher. 32 students. And again, I look at and this is my opinion, people will hate me for this. I don't know that there's any college degree that teaches you to manage 32 kids. I have 4. And even if all 4 were born on the same day, they're completely different individuals. One has nightmares if he watches Scooby-Doo. The other one loves animals. They have different reaction times. They have different interests. They have different learning styles. You can give one, hey, take out the trash, do the dishes, and then you can give them 3 things. One of them, you can only tell them 1 thing at a time. It's like they're all different human beings.
So what I'm hearing really is that there's a system of schooling that is really set up for failure.
Exactly.
And set up to channel our young people into improper diagnosis.
Well, yeah, that's what I come away with. I have the teacher was pleasant enough. But if I compare her to my first grade teacher was probably in her 60s. I remember her, Mrs. Rudd. And I remember this time when again, in first grade, I'm an artist. You can imagine what a 6-year-old's art looks like. But we were learning the IE words, tie, pie, things like that. And I drew PIE, very careful with the handwriting because we were taught proper handwriting. Proper handwriting is no longer taught. And then I drew a pie. And I saved that picture because my teacher, she was like, Barbara, that pie looks good enough to eat. And I think I put a little bit of smoke coming off of it, like it was just freshly baked. And again, there was nothing special about it. It wasn't shaded, or it was a 6-year-old's drawing. But she had me go across the hall to the 2nd grade teacher. And I said, Mrs. Rudd said you needed to see my pie. And the woman was like, oh my goodness, I'm so hungry all of a sudden. So it was all of this validation. And I felt loved. And when I look at my 6-year-old life, my mother was most important. My father was 3rd because my teacher was 2nd.
Now, as you're listening to this, I want you all to understand, we're talking about children in today's society who are not validated at home, not validated in school, and then diagnosed with behavior problems and issues. And I'll just throw in here for the record so that people also understand, I'm one of the products of one of those homes. My mother had me when she was 16. I had a brother by the time she was 17. I had a sister by the time she was 18. And they considered my brother and myself to be behavior problems. I even remember at the age of 5 and 6, they put one of us on medication and left the other one off to see how it would affect. So these things are real. And I also know today, I've been doing a little research, that there are a lot of children in Miami-Dade that are on psychiatric drugs.
Yes. Back to your original question here, I wish I could tell you that I took him out immediately, but I didn't. Like I say, I was in September, my youngest was born in October, so in September, I'm 7 months pregnant. I have a 3-year-old and I have a 1-year-old. And I'm like, if I take him out of school, I'm gonna be doing him a huge disservice. Plus, I'm not a teacher. I've never gone to college. I didn't know what I was doing. So I left him in school. And we get around to the end of the year. June. And my son, he tells me these words, which are horrible. He goes, Mom, I'm just stupid. And I'm like, oh my God, there's no child, even if he was special needs, even if he was disabled in some way, he should never feel that way.
Now you multiply that, parents. I know some of you are like, wow, that sounds like my story. I'm overwhelmed. I don't have a choice. I have to do it this way. And then your child comes back with that kind of language and abuse about himself. So that led you to take some direct action.
Absolutely. I'm like, I'm not sending you back to school. I am sorry that I betrayed my role as mother to you, because that's what I did. I really betrayed him. And I had this like, almost like vision, if you will, of my son turning 12, and no longer, somewhere along the way, my voice gets lost, and he's now smoking pot on a street corner, listening to the friends over me. And I'm like, I don't want that. I want my voice to be the voice that leads him into adulthood.
So now as we pause there, because Barbie took a step further than that, she even developed her own school, and we're going to talk about that momentarily. But one of the reasons why I thought it was important is because our children are right now in summer, and they're going to be going back to school very, very soon. And I know there are a lot of parents out there who are ill-informed and don't know how to respond to these very similar type of situations. And so let's take an example. For example, I want to going to play a news clip.
Okay.
And then this news clip now, as you listen, is talking about how, for example, this was in Kentucky, how they noticed that there was this drastic increase in how many children were being diagnosed to take psychiatric drugs. So much that it led a local university to have to do a study to find out what's going on. And then I want to relate it back to what we're doing here. So family, take a listen, and then we'll talk.
Well, it's a first of its kind study being launched at U of L to protect the growing number of children on behavioral medications. 8 doctors began investigating after research showed Kentucky kids on psychotropic drugs nearly double the national average. WLKY's Ann Bowden joins us now with more on the collaborative effort. Ann?
Rick, it is not just doctors that are behind this study to protect Kentucky's children. It's actually financially backed by Kentucky Medicaid to the tune of $75,000. They all want to find out why so many kids in Kentucky are on behavioral medications.
There's been a worrisome increase in the rates of children receiving medications that are antipsychotics.
According to recent numbers given to U of L pediatricians, Kentucky has an alarming number of children taking behavioral drugs for conditions like ADD and ADHD, depression, anxiety,
mood disorders, bipolar disorder, autism, or disruptive behavior.
and the children range in age.
One of the major ranges that we see are preschool children and foster care children.
Particularly preschool age and foster care children. Now, Barbie, as you listen to that news clip, I don't know, what comes to your mind?
I'm enraged. I'm enraged. I come from, again, I'm old school. There's nothing fancy about me. I come from, in fact, I'm like getting teared up because of this. My parents, they had 5 children. My grandmother had 13. When she passed at age 97, there were 101 grandchildren total, 5 different generations. So I come from a big family.
I would say so.
But a toddler wasn't expected. I mean, still we had to sit at the table. We had to, we had to have manners. But that was what a toddler was.
Right.
Like if we went to a friend's house, like if my parents would have taken us to visit your house, it's like when you go in, you shake his hand, you have a seat, you do not go running through his house. Like we knew what we were supposed to do, and we were like little. And so we did that. Not out of fear, not out of anything, because to me, we were being raised, and at that point, the pharmaceutical industry was not citing normal childhood behavior as mental disorders.
Now let's pause right there, because you just said something, and it's Barbie is not the Gap Band, but she just dropped a bomb on me and you. When she said the pharmaceutical companies are in the decision-making roles and process of diagnosing our children for medications that they end up selling.
Yes.
So I was listening to that Kentucky piece, and I remember having a conversation with you, and it made me think about what's going on here in Florida and Miami-Dade. Now, you turned your pain to purpose, if you will, and you ended up developing and opening up a school and serving children, and we want to talk about that momentarily. But first, can you talk about the proposition that was made to you in reference to, that's probably made to school systems?
Yes.
I don't know if it's made to superintendents or school districts or principals or, I don't know, teachers' fairs, about incentivizing
Yes.
them for diagnosing children.
Okay. So it was like 2006, 2007. Okay, just to back up. So I started homeschooling, and I had what we now call a micro school. I had 12 kids coming to my house, which was beautiful. It was so cute and so fun and structured and scheduled. And then when I became a private school, which now my school's in a storefront, like your building here is like 3 times the size of my school. So my school is still small. But now that I'm on the list of private schools, now I get visits or emails or faxes or whatever the technology is at that time about various programs. And it was a day that 2 people show up, not appointed, but they show up and they have their briefcases, and they're representing a drug study on, it was Intuniv, the psychiatric medication that was slow release. I think Intuniv had already been on the market, but they're doing they're altering Intuniv.
Now, do you know anything about what that is, Intuniv? Because I'm a little...
It's like it's like a Ritalin, a Focalin, a Strattera, and Adderall. That's the name of the ADHD drug. And so they had 3 levels of participation, and they had the paperwork in front, like level 1 of participation for this drug study, because they said they need children to do the drug study on before the drug could be made public.
So they wanted to experiment on children, is what I'm hearing.
That's it.
Okay.
That's what I'm hearing. I mean, that they use all their fancy terminology, but this is legal drug dealing. Let's face it, it's legal drug dealing. So if for every name, address, and phone number I gave to the study, the school or myself would get $100. And one of the drug representatives said, "Barbara, you could use your Christmas list if you wanted to," which I'm like, what are we doing? This is already so unethical, and now I'm gonna add my Christmas list of my aunts and uncles, and I'm gonna get $100 off of them.
Now that's just level 1.
That's just level 1. Level 2 was, there was a mental health checklist, and I believe it had 30 items on it, such as has poor handwriting, gets interrupted with external stimuli, which means if somebody opens the door, you look up. I'm like, that's what we do as human beings. Anyway, if I did the mental health checklist on the child, I didn't have to interview them. I could do it from afar, like my visual interpretation of what I'm looking at. I get $500 for each mental health checklist, name, address, and phone number, submitted to the study.
And that's level 2.
And level 3 required the most participation on my part, and that would be to sit down with the parents, and for every parent that agreed to medicate their child, I would get $5,000 per prescription. And I'm listening to this, and I cannot believe what I'm listening to. And my school is full of kids. I mean, still, it's only 50 kids.
Right.
40 or 50 kids.
How many schools or school systems you think have been approached?
Well, according to them, and this is according to them, I have not verified, because I refused. And they push this point, they go, you could get a new car. And I'm like, what? I would rather sweat to get a new car. I'd rather work 3 jobs to get a new car than drug a child. And it's like, let's face it, Barbara, your school is small and ugly, and you really could use a campus. And I'm like, well, let's face it, if I wanted drug money, I'll go to Craigslist and find a cocaine dealer who needs a tax write-off.
Now, if you're listening to this, I don't want to lose sight of something that Barbie not just said, but what Barbie did, and I got to keep it a buck with you, family, what so many of us are afraid to do. She refused. She refused the money. She refused the drugs. She refused diagnosing children. Now, I need to ask you all right now in Miami-Dade County, and I'm talking to our parents right now. How many of our parents listening right now have taken the money, have taken the false diagnosis, and have given our children over to studies like this and might not even know it? Not beating us up, family, but we got to do better, you know. But you found the courage to say no.
It wasn't even a question of yes or no. And then they tried another tactic to get me to say yes. They go, you would be the only South Florida educator to refuse the study.
So wait.
I know.
Wait. I just need to, you know, because sometimes my headphones go out and I'm just trying to. So according to them, you are the only one that refused the study in South Florida. So news alert, you heard it right here first, if you're hearing it first, on Brotherhood Talk Worldwide, that there is a study that has been taking place, and there's only been one educator in South Florida. Now, educators, you know, you all can call in too, 1-888-599-9626. You might be able to say, no, I refuse too. Or you might have a different kind of story. But the important thing is we're talking about protecting our children. So you took this stand. And I hope you all understand why I thought it was important for Barbie to be with us today, because if what you're saying and what you personally experience is taking place on a massive level, then we have a massive misdiagnosis of young children that are being geared. As a matter of fact, I looked up, I think over 69%, we're talking about now in Miami-Dade, of our children who are diagnosed are automatically put on medication.
That doesn't surprise me. No, it's horrible. And, you know, it's like sometimes saying no is not an issue for me. Mm-hmm. But what I can't, bring myself to acknowledge is how can, first of all, these drug reps were maybe 25, 26. And they're like, well, we have degrees, we have this. I'm like, I really don't care. Mm-hmm. What you're doing is you're destroying humanity. And I even pointed out to them, because I had kids in my school. A lot of the kids in my school have been previously medicated. They had side effects, and that's why the parents are seeking an alternative. So that's how a lot of people even find me.
So now I want to hear that part right now, because I want you all to know, now you're talking about, and look, I'm an educator, so you're listening to right now of a superwoman of the likes of a Marva Collins, who now, remember now other parents who realize that they have been brought underneath this, they're now bringing their children to Barbie school, and I want to hear about that. But I want to at least send this short message out that, family, stop medicating our children. Stop medicating our children.
It kinda feels like I'm dying on the inside. It kinda feels like I've been trying to get by, and I've been this way since day one. I don't need no medication, no, I don't need no drug. Or maybe I'm different, and maybe my ADHD got me tripping, and maybe I'm just everything that you miss me, yeah. I feel like I'm dying inside. Why do I think crazy? Someone save me, you can't blame me. It's my ADHD, yeah. My mind racing, I've been paranoid. Overthinking, maybe that's a void. Don't cut me off like I don't have a voice. I think I was born different, I ain't really have a choice, yeah. Past recession, you are hourly. away with me, today is not the day. Pay attention, I am not deranged. I could tell you what I'm thinking, I just don't know how to say it. Maybe I get on your nerves. I mean what I say, I've been a man of my word. Yeah, I'm wide awake, maybe a little disturbed, but that's just me. You don't bleed the blood I bleed.
On Heritage Gospel Station AM 1490 WMBM. You're listening right now to Brother Lyle Muhammad on Circle of Brotherhood Talk Worldwide. And again, family, we have our special guest in studio, Miss Barbie Rivera. Now, we have been highlighting not only her story, but her book, Enough is Enough, exposing the education system after their failed attempt to label and drug my son. How many of you right now know children that are on mind-altering drugs because of school diagnosis? I just want you to think about that. And as we were getting ready to go to break, Barbie, you were actually talking about how when you started standing up for your son, that other parents begin to bring their children towards you. So I think we are in the presence of a master educator. But let's talk about the success that you've had with these young folk who have been properly misdiagnosed.
Well, we've had several. Am I good?
Yeah.
Okay. We've had several successes. First of all, I just want to go back to the medication point, and I'll keep it to my son. So at age 6, all of his baby teeth hadn't fallen out yet. But yet, an educator said that he needed mind-altering drugs. And the drugs, such as Focalin, Strattera, Intuniv, Ritalin, they fall in the class of CNS medication, central nervous system. Mm-hmm. So they wanted to alter my son's central nervous system. And that was supposed to help him read. I'm like, it makes no sense. Somebody had to have been making money. Like somewhere along the line, we're monetizing children for being children and finding fault with it.
And all the way along the line, because how many of those children end up becoming, as adults, drug users and abusers, whether it be through systematic or through other means? Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So I'll give you a couple of success stories. So before COVID, it was Christmas time, and it was December, and I got a phone call from a woman in Texas that her grandson was in Miami, had failed 8th grade 3 years in a row, was depressed, had been on drugs, you name it. And she saw my website, helpmiami.org. The school's Help Miami.
Helpmiami.org.
So she's like, I'm going to send him to you to interview him. And this kid is big. He's like linebacker big. And I'm like, okay, so we're going, I enrolled him. He had manners and I didn't see any problem. I got along with him. And I go, but over Christmas, we're going to become best friends because we have to get you tutoring. Like the little assessment I did on him, he was probably at a 4th grade level. Mm-hmm. So.
Now at what age?
He's 16.
Now, I want to pause there for a minute. We're doing the math. Barb, we got a saying in the black community that when America has a cold, the black community has pneumonia. And as I'm listening to you describe what's going on, I'm seeing the massive numbers of black children that are trapped.
Yes.
Just like you're talking about.
Yes. And this is everybody, by the way. Right. If this was before COVID, now it's even worse, which bring me back to that point. So anyway, the grandparents paid for tutoring. So I'm like, we're going to do 2 hours a day over Christmas break. We won't do Christmas, whatever. Mm-hmm. And the first thing I gave him, I gave him tests from 4th grade, because that's really where he tested out. And basically, if you have a child, I don't care how old they are, an adult, if they test out at a 4th grade level in mathematics, well, you got to start just a little bit before then, because that's where their problem is. You're not going to run algebra if the student can't add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It doesn't make, that's
now, if
nonsense.
This is running any coincidence to what you all may know about the school to prison pipeline and the 3rd and 4th grade diagnosis and
yes.
the building of jails and institutions, listen up.
Yes. So the boy had the problem, 100 take away 81. And he goes, I don't know how to do that. I've been you know, I have a math disability. I was on drugs for 3 years trying to solve it, but it's just like been determined that I can't do it. And I'm listening to him, waiting for him to stop talking because I don't want to be rude. And I'm like, well, we're canceling all of that right now. Who dressed you this morning?
Come on, Barbie.
Oh, I did. And I go, you picked the clothes out by yourself? Okay, so you have judgment. You have sequence because you did it. You didn't put the shoes on and then the socks. So we're going to say you can do math. So just simply, I don't want to bore you, but I got out $100 bills, $10 bills, $1 bills.
Sound like real education to me. I'm hearing real education. I'm not seeing real education today as often as we need to. These numbers should be ringing home.
So anyway, it was, I think, 700 take away 81 or something like that. So I counted out $700. And I go, now we take one of those hundreds and we turn it into $10 bills. How much money do I have? $700. I go, right, we regrouped it. We grouped it differently. And then now we still need the ones columns. We take one of these tens and we turn it. Anyway, he did this motion like mind blown. And I go, there, we just solved that. And for the rest of your life, you're going to be able to do this. True or not true? He goes, true. I'm like, good. We've been together for 10 minutes. Now let's do the next thing.
So in 10 minutes, you erased years of psychiatric care that you had that young man under, and years of not being validated, and years of low or no self-esteem in 10 minutes.
Well, I gave him an ability that he already has. Like, that's the thing. Most people can figure it out. And again, this has been a journey. I'm still on this journey.
Right.
You know? But my stable point was like what was done to me, with me in first grade. And when we were learning math, we had apples, we had dollar bills, we had this. We weren't on a device. It wasn't test. We weren't judged that way. We played games, we did puzzles, we did all of these things. And by the time I was in 8th grade was easy. It had its own challenge, but you mastered it. And then now we can take a bigger scope. My father graduated 8th grade sometime in the 40s. I don't know the exact year, but sometime in the 40s. And his 8th grade education is stronger than many college graduates now.
Now, how many of y'all already know that who are listening? See, let's pause right there for that point, because I think it's really time, Barbie, with the courage that you showed. Not only did you show courage for your own child, but you ended up creating a vehicle for other children to grow and blossom.
Yes.
But you are an example of a parent that was willing to take a stand. And I know right now, I know some of you who are watching or who are listening, you know children that have been misdiagnosed. You know children, you know parents, some of y'all know you've been offered that same money and those same incentives, but you know it doesn't feel right in your gut. Pay attention to our young people who are living in a crazy, sick, sane world, family. Pay attention to heroes like Barbie, who's with us today, a parent that not only said no for her own child, but Barbie, with that note, I know a lot of our parents feel pressured for a couple of reasons. Obviously, people feel financially pressured, and that's what they thought was going to be able to work with you, with the financial, but they also, because of a lack of knowledge, of trusting in the system. Can you give parents some insight on how to protect themselves becoming victims of these pharmaceutical companies?
Yeah, well, I actually write about it in my book. I give you questions that you should ask on, like, if somebody says, my child has ADHD, I'm like, well, what test determines that? And actually, there isn't a test. It's all objective. And, okay, so clearly you can tell I'm not totally normal.
Oh, you
so there was a
super bad normal to me. That's why you're here with Brotherhood.
Thank you. So again, I think it was 2005, 2006, the Youth Psychiatric Convention was on Miami Beach. So I asked my friend, who was probably 15 years older than me. I'm like, let's go check it out. And this is before technology with phones and all of that existed, but we had a little handheld camera. And I lied. We went to the hotel, and I went up to psychiatrists that were participating in this conference. And it was interesting because you could tell exactly who around the pool.
Sound like you went undercover.
I was undercover.
I'm not going to call it lying. I'm going to call you went undercover.
And I said that I was doing an internship for CNN out of Burbank, and I was just doing interviews with brides and grooms, and I needed to show my interview skills. So that, and I go, do I have permission to ask you questions? And it was terrifying what I heard. And I remained very impartial. I'm like, what test? First of all, what's the chemical? What's the name of the chemical that's in balance? Because, like, I have a hyperthyroid condition, which requires this medication. Right. However, somebody that has the low thyroid, it's a different medication. Right. So if there is a chemical imbalance, well, I didn't say if there is, I assume there was, which I don't think there is, which it came out later that there isn't. I go, what's the name of the chemical? Oh, we have not, science has not determined that. I'm like, okay, but right now, what test can you do on me to determine if it's a high level or a low level? Oh, we haven't determined that either. I go, so then how can you prescribe something if you don't know if it's high, if it's low, if it's the same thing? Well, that's where you go into trial and error on the medication.
So you mean trial and error on our children is what I'm hearing.
And on adults, yes. Like, we'll see how this works. If that doesn't work, we'll up the dosage. If that doesn't work, we'll change the medication. The point, and then I asked this crazy question, how many patients or how many children or adults have been cured of their ADHD? And there were not, I mean, that was a bad word, cure. And again, I remained impartial. And then I'm like, so how do you test the drugs?
Barbie, she bad. Barbie, she bad, y'all. I told you she was bad.
This is you know, I'm a single mom. I raised the kids by myself. But this gentleman, he was super arrogant. He goes, well, we test all the medications on lesser animals. I'm like, and what's the definition of a lesser animals? He's like, well, rats have a very similar chemical makeup of humans.
This
and I go,
familiar?
wait a minute.
Is this sounding familiar?
I'm like, you mean there's a team of rats somewhere that can come to my house and do my laundry? And
tell you what else came to my mind when they talking about lesser animals. This is
seriously.
This is real, family.
No,
and it's our children. These are lives we're talking about. You know.
No, and they're right there. Now I'm going to tell you of a situation that, I mean, every week somebody comes in to see me, right? And we're enrolling for next year.
Enrolling for next year, and that website again is?
helpmiami.org. I'm in West Kendall.
helpmiami.org.
That's the school, yes. So this woman comes in, and she says she grew up in the foster care in Europe. And she has this boy, and he is going into the 3rd grade or going into the 4th grade. He's a little guy. He comes in and he doesn't want to be there. I want to go to summer camp. He wouldn't even come in my office. I'm like, well, come in. We're going to talk, and you're going to go to your summer camp. I promise you I'm not going to keep you here. And it turns out that she goes, well, he was on medication, and then at the Christmas show, all the kids are doing the dance, and he's just standing there in a stupor. So that's when she decided to take him off. And then she had all of these labels connected to him, but then tells me this key thing, that he loves animals and can tell you everything about animals. So I look at this boy, like when he goes outside, he'll find a rabbit, there's a toad, there's a snake. I go, so you have a Rodrigo, that's not his name, but I'm like, Rodrigo, you have a gift. And out of the corner of my eye, because I'm locked in on him, the mom breaks down into hysterics. Said anything positive about my son.
Woo! Pause. Parents, challenge. Make sure today you go out of your way to say something positive to each and every every last one of your children. Challenge, parents. Challenge.
So anyway, this boy is probably at a first grade level. His handwriting is horrible because they don't teach it anymore. And handwriting, by the way, on certain checklists is a sign of learning disability or mental illness. I'm like, okay, well, let's not teach it and then let's criticize it. That's not fair.
Sounds familiar.
His math is low, but I'm like, I start telling him about one of my children who is now an adult, and he's into private security, so he has the cam. Depending on the job, he can have the gun or not have the gun. And I'm like, when he was twice before he was 5, wild birds landed on his shoulder. And I'm like, he has a gift.
Come on now.
So he likes snakes and he likes spiders and all of these things. I'm like, so when he was coming into learning to read, I called up all the aunts and uncles, grandmas and grandpas from both sides of the family, and I'm like, Adam likes animals.
So what I'm hearing in theory is that finding a child's gift unlocks their genius.
Yes.
But not finding their gift gives people reason to label and medicate.
Well, but
people.
I'm gonna challenge that. It's not finding the gift, it's ignoring that it even existed in the first place.
Ignoring that it exists.
Because we're all supposed to be obedient little kids. And like I say, I have 4 kids. My parents had 5. They didn't get matching furniture until all 5 of us were out of the house.
Come on, why Barbie keep going to my house? That's all I want to know from y'all. Why she keep talking about me? Why you keep talking about me, Barbie?
I'm talking about because they knew we were crazy.
And I know, look, you know she's talking about us out there too. But look, let's do this. I want to play a short segment from Dr. Umar. Some of our people love him. And I want you to hear what he's saying about ADHD. And then when we come back from that, we're going to just give you a chance to give whatever kind of closing remarks that you think you need to give. And I got a little story you reminded me of too about a particular student that I'll use in my closing segment. But here's about a short segment from Dr. Umar.
ADD, because no drug can make you sit there and listen to a whole bunch of lies about Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. So they put an H in it. And do you know right now, today, with the DSM-5, if you take your son to get diagnosed for ADHD, he will be diagnosed with ADHD, even if he's not hyper. I'm going to say it again. The code is written. The diagnostic criteria is written. Even if you're not hyper, you're still considered hyper anyway. Because it's about drug money.
Drug money in the name of mental health. Say it ain't so, say it ain't real. You know, I want to give you an opportunity to say whatever you like to say in closing out. But I wanted you to thank you. You inspired me. A story I forgot many, many moons ago. I wasn't even in South Florida yet. I was in Baltimore, Washington, D.C., and people knew that I had a gift for working with young people. And they said, there's this young man I want you to see. He's in the 11th grade, and he can't read. And he's a star on the basketball team. I want you all to start doing the math. First of all, he's in the 11th grade. How did he get out of the 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 9th, 10th to the 11th grade not knowing how to read? And he's the star of the basketball team. And so when I get to the school, he's in a room with a tutor. And it's just him and the tutor. And she has these 3-letter words that she's flashing. And he's saying the 3-letter words. Cat, mug, dog. I lit up when I saw that, Barbie, because I knew if he could do 3-letter words, he could do 6-letter words. If he could do 6-letter words, he could do 12-letter words. He could do compound words. And so I knew. And so I walked in the room and I asked the tutor to excuse herself. And I said a few words to the young man there about his situation. And long story short, I wrote out the entire word for DNA on the board, and that was my first lesson. And the last lesson I had to teach before he went on to teach himself how to read and write. But how many people in the system failed that young man for him to get all the way to the 11th grade and not know how to read and write? And how many of us are going to ignore the messages that you're hearing right now, and you're not going to go save our babies from this ill-fated diagnosis and medical overdosing?
Correct.
Closing words, Bobby.
Correct. Well, I'm just going to say it, and this is, again, not popular. The school system is, it's not even broken. It's not producing. It's ineffective. If it were a restaurant, the restaurant would have been closed.
Woo!
So, and I'm going to speak to your point. All right, so a couple of things. One, I wrote the book to get attention and to give other people hope, because in the book I talk about homeschooling. If someone has a room in their house that they can start homeschooling from, they can homeschool their children. Bring on 3 more. If you have a 6th grader, bring on 3 more 6th graders. Get those 6th graders to pay you, and now you are at home with your child, raising them with the values that you want to raise them with. And that's what I did. And then I ended up turning it into a private school. And I go over that in my book, and I've helped people start things like that. But now to your point, in my book, I also go over the solution, because there is a solution. Back in 1910, the United States was the most literate country in the world. And we had a 97% literacy rate, which I cite the source.
Wow.
And that was white, black, all, right? So what happened? So I start collecting books from the 1800s to the early 1900s on reading, writing, and math. And one of which I talk about in Enough is Enough, because somewhere the Elon Musk of the world or whatever is going to say, I want to do something with education. And I don't think the educators are going to solve it. The pharmaceuticals aren't going to solve it. The experts of children aren't going to solve it. It's going to be someone like you and like me that are going to solve it.
And like you who are listening.
So this is a book from 1913, and this was the standard on teaching someone to read. And it slowly took you through words, starting with the sounds of letters, and you just did it over and over and over.
Repetition.
And I probably have about 45.
From 1913.
Yes. Anyway, so the plan would be to take...
This is by Florence Aiken, by the way, in case anybody wanted to try to come across it.
Yeah, and even that is key, because it's one person authoring. It's not a group of publishers.
Well, I'd like to say, Barbie, that you are key.
Thank
One
you.
person who took action, and enough is enough. And I think today, I need you all to get this message out. We're always thankful for 1490 WMBM, Circle of Brotherhood, worldwide talk. Look, take this message over the hills and everywhere today, dear family. Thank you, Barbie. Peace and blessings. Brotherhood!
You will not be able to stay home, brother. You will not be able to plug in, turn on, and cop out. You will not be able to lose yourself on Skag and skip out for beer during commercials, because the revolution will not be televised.